Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. And the Elder Scrolls V took players to the northern region of Tamriel that is Skyrim. A vast, frozen land locked in brutal political turmoil and facing an imminent dragon-fueled invasion. However, the Elder Scrolls V's second DLC, Dragonborn, took place not on Skyrim itself, but instead on the gloomy island of Solstheim, off of Morrowind's northern shores. Solstheim faces her own set of problems, still attempting to recover from the Red Mountain and plagued with everything from Raika ambushes to all-out assaults from Oblivion monsters. But also like Skyrim, Solstheim has its own fair share of Easter eggs, tiny details, and hidden treasures for the most dedicated of fans to find and hopefully appreciate. So today we'll be taking a look at 5 more Solstheim secrets you may have missed in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Starting off, North Shore Landing is an old, mostly abandoned and unused dock on Solstheim's northern coast. During the quest, A New Source of Stalrim, the Dragonborn will be sent here to deal with some freshly arrived Thalmor agents, who are trying to pressure the local Skull Nords into revealing some of their smithing secrets. However, when this quest isn't active, the dock will be inhabited not by Aldemari Dominion operatives, but instead, mud crabs, who will be even less willing to listen to what the player has to say. As you hack and slash your way through these pinching menaces to society, you may notice that one, especially large crab, boasts a unique name. Old Salty is what it's called, and it's the only named mud crab in the entire game, aside from the one you can acquire as a pet in Skyrim's Hearthfire expansion. But Old Salty's size and title aren't the only things that stick out about him, as once he's defeated, you'll find in his inventory a variety of gems, coins, and even a tankard. What's going on here? This is not your typical mud crab loot. Well, it seems our thick-shelled friend here is actually a nod by Bethesda to another character from the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind. In the game, between the settlements of Vivec and Saran, it was possible to stumble upon a non-hostile mud crab, who would act as a merchant with the player, selling all sorts of gems and trinkets. Furthermore, while this mud crab didn't boast a name itself, according to characters you could speak to nearby, it did have a, quote, serious drinking problem. That explains the tankard in Old Salty's inventory, and all the gems. Bethesda is paying homage to a familiar crustacean. Or perhaps they meant to imply that this is in fact the same character. I don't know what the lore says about mud crab lifespans, but it's possible this is the same one. What a tragedy that would be, befriending this fellow in the Elder Scrolls 3, only to murder him to death in the Elder Scrolls 5. Next on our list, the Dragonborn DLC released with its own entire new soundtrack. Many of its songs heavily inspired by the ones we got to listen to in Morrowind, which is quite fitting for such a location. But during your time on Solstheim, you won't exclusively be listening to the new background music, as every now and again, the engine will throw in a song from vanilla Skyrim, just to mix things up. It's pretty easy to distinguish whether the track you're listening to was from the vanilla game or the Dragonborn DLC, as both have their own rather unique styles that can be discerned quickly after you've heard them. Normal Skyrim music has a lot more Nordic elements, like chants and heavy drums, whereas Solstheim's is more defined by string instruments and fewer vocals. Of course, there are major exceptions to these rules, but this is just generally speaking. Well, when the player approaches the Skull Village of course being a small settlement inhabited by an isolated tribe of Nords, and home to the island's largest Nordic population, your chance of hearing normal vanilla Skyrim music radically increases, to the point where you're more likely to hear vanilla Skyrim songs than those of the DLC. A look in the game's files confirms this was an intentional decision by Bethesda, certainly trying to promote the notion that this Nordic community had a culture independent of the rest of the Isles. Furthermore, of the DLC music you do listen to here, it's mostly a custom set of tracks specifically made for the Skull, that use a lot more of those drums and chants which characterize Skyrim's own songs. So, a cool little immersion trick by the developers. Coming in at number 3, the Retching Netch Corner Club is Ravenrocks, and for that matter, all of Solstheim's largest inn and tavern. It was established and is currently run by a dark elf named Geldis Sadri, who claims to have come up with the establishment's name after watching a Netch throw up from consuming a drink.
Well, the bottle broke on the Netch, and it must have swallowed its contents because it started floating sort of tilted. Finally, it stopped and began to quiver. A few moments later, the foulest liquid to ever assail your nostrils spewed from its maw.
However, while Geldris Sadri comes off as a completely decent and honorable dark elf making an honest living, it seems he may have a relative involved in some very dark practices that we may have met before, though Geldis is entirely unaware. You see, at Castle Volkihar in the Dawnguard DLC, the Dragonborn can meet a Dunmer vampire serving Lord Harkin as one of his chief alchemists. That Dunmer vampire's name is Ferran Sadri, the same family name shared by Geldis. Now, in fairness to Geldis, his blood-sucking ancestor has probably been living in secret for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So I highly doubt the poor business owner has the slightest clue of such a dark family member running about. However, he should probably take a look at a family tree, or read up on his clan's history. Someone very close to him has become very corrupted. For 4th spot, north of Ashfallow Citadel, hidden just ahead of a small source of a creek, is a secret camp. And inside, the Dovahkiin can find a very tragic scene indeed. Here, lying on a bedroll, will be the corpse of an Argonian named Asha, surrounded by skooma bottles. It's clear what happened, but some quick further inspection reveals multiple pieces of gold ore, an entire chest filled with treasure, and a wealth of golden coins all over the place. This scaly-skinned individual was rich. Why throw it all away over some skooma? Alas, a note found on a table nearby gives us insight on the full story. The note is titled Letter to Asha, and it reads as follows. Quote, "My dear Asha, we can make it work. Do not worry about my father. He will grow to accept you in time. So will my mother and my sister. Oh, Asha, I only ask that you write and let me know that you're alright. I've convinced my father to look past your lack of wealth and see you for who you really are. Come back home. No need to worry. I'll be waiting for you, my love. Signed, Monessa." This clarifies what went down. Evidently, Asha and the author of this letter, a woman named Monessa, had a romantic relationship together. But she came from a wealthy family and Asha didn't. So Monessa's parents and her sister didn't approve of him as a result. Not accepting their lack of acceptance, Asha took it upon himself to try and strike it rich in Solstheim mining gold, which he obviously succeeded in doing, as evidenced by all the golden things around him. But he must have just become too dependent on the skooma, which he probably took as a coping method to begin with, and thus, before he could come back to his soulmate with his newly acquired wealth, Asha became little more than another one of Solstheim's many corpses. A terrible tragedy. Remember kids, skooma. Not even once. And finally, last on our list, Reiklings are disgusting little blue creatures that have become quite the nuisance for the people living on this island. A strange breed of goblin, they live in primitive, tribal-like societies, speak an odd, gibberishy language that no one understands, and spend their days ambushing unsuspecting travelers along Solstheim's roads. Seriously though, don't let their height and welcoming blue color fool you. Reiklings are fierce foes, especially in packs. However, at one of their caves, on the northeastern edges of the map, known as Frostle, the player can find some Reiklings engaging in a very odd activity. Near the end of the cavern, an entire cohort of the Smurfs will be crouched down, bowing and seemingly worshipping a strange statue-like figure. The structure these goblins are so infatuated with resembles that of a reindeer pulling along a cart. Now, this can have one of two implications. Either A, Bethesda put in a humorous Santa Claus reference and thought the notion of Reiklings accepting him as a symbol of divine status would be funny, or B, this could be a more serious testament to Reikling religion. Reiklings, of course, built their society off of raiding and pillaging the roads of Solstheim. Attacking merchant caravans is how they get most of the things they own. So it's entirely feasible that, to these primitive beasts, the horse-drawn carriages they loot so often from are divine, gifts from the gods, or maybe even gods themselves. They don't understand that that mead they stole was actually produced at some lodge in Riften. All they know is that it came from the carriage they took it out of. So, could it be that Reiklings are engaging in these rituals, hoping to appease the carriage gods to send them more goodies, or have more valuable things in the boxes they loot? It sounds like a possibility. Or perhaps someone at Bethesda just wanted to have a little fun, and was thinking a lot about Christmas the day he designed this in the office. Make of it what you will. And with that, we are going to wrap up. 5 more Solstheim secrets you may have missed in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Which of the Easter eggs or tiny details on this list did you find to be the most intriguing? And what secrets on this ashy island do you know of that I missed today? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everyone.